So next topic is related to power unit, right? So this is the diagram is related to the engine. So why we are calling power unit means engine generates the power. That power will be supplied to different components for getting the activity from that components. We need to supply the power. That power will be supplied from the engine, right? The main source of the power is the engine, right? So that's why engine is called it as power unit, which supplies power to different components to coming to the action and to move the vehicle in the forward direction, right? So coming to the first point related to the power unit. Power plant provides the motive power for all the various functions which the vehicle or any part of it may be called upon to perform, right? So if any part want to get performance from that, so how we will get means by supplying the power, right? If you supply the power, then that part will comes into the performance, right? So that power is supplied from the power plant, nothing but an internal combustion engine. Coming to the second point, the power plant generally consists of an IC engine, generally consists of an IC engine, spark plug or compression ignition engine, spark ignition engine or compression ignition engine. Generally, for power plants, we will use internal combustion engines because utilizes less fuel, generates more amount of the power. That's why we will use internal combustion engines. In that also, we prefer according to the customer need, we'll use spark ignition engine or compression ignition engine. Coming to the third point, we can also use gas turbines. Right, we can also use gas turbines. Gas turbines, the size is more, right? Size is more weight will be increased, but the speed of the vehicle has been doubles if we use the gas turbine, right? Which is used in sports cars. We can also successfully we can build the gas turbine in the automobile. Electrical motor powered by the batteries have been also used. We can also use the electrical motors which run by the batteries. It is also possible to use the electrical motors which powered by the batteries. Right. Coming to the next point related to the power unit is combination of an internal combustion engine and electrical motors have also successfully employed in hybrid cars. So in hybrid cars, we are adding one more energy element, that is IC engine is one energy element. IC engine is one energy element and electrical motor is another device. Right. So we are adding two energy sources. Okay, two energy sources can also be successfully installed, combined in an hybrid vehicles. Right. Coming to the next one, that is solar energy powered systems are also being tried, right? So solar energy powered vehicles are also tried, right? Solar energy can be used as a power source to move the vehicle, right? It is also tried. Coming to the next point, most promising future power plant is the one based on fuel cell. So there is more research is going on the fuel cell as a power unit to run the vehicle. For future generations, fuel cell is the best option as a power unit. Right. Coming to the next topic, that is transmission system. So for a transmission system, What are the components present in the transmission system? Means clutch, transmission box or gearbox, universal joints, propeller shaft or drive shaft, differential, rear wheels, tires, rear wheels, tires, right? So the power which is generated from the engine is transferred to rear wheels, is transferred to rear wheels through some components such as clutch, gearbox, propeller shaft, universal joint, differential, rear axle. Right. So through this, engine power is supplied to the rear wheels. So that system is known as the system which is helpful to transfer the power from engine to rear wheels is known as the transmission system. Right. Please observe the statement. It is used to transmit engine torque to the driving wheels to drive the vehicle on road. So if we want to drive the vehicle on road, wheels need to get the torque. So where it is getting from the torque? From the engine, right? So transmission system is helpful to transmit the engine torque to the driving wheels to drive the vehicle on the road, right? Coming to the next slide. So first we are going to discuss about the clutch, right? So in the transmission system, right? So coming to the function. So if you observe the clutch will be appears like this. So largest gear profile is there, that is the flywheel, right? That is the flywheel. And the red color is there, that is the cover plate. This is the cover plate, right? And the silver color is there, you can observe here silver color is there, that is the pressure plate. So in between the cover plate and pressure plate, coil springs are attached, right? So after that pressure plate, you can observe one more plate is there, that is the clutch plate. Okay, that is the clutch plate. Clutch plate is located in between the flywheel and the pressure plate, right? In between the friction plate or clutch plate, in between the clutch plate and the cover plate, pressure plate is located. In between the cover plate and clutch plate, pressure plate is located, right? Is it right? So this is the construction of the clutch, right? So actual diagram for drawing in exams will be like this. This is the diagram which is related to the cone clutch. Cone clutch consists of two cones, one is female cone, another one is male cone. Main cone is attached to the pressure plate which slides on the clutch shaft. With help of the spring and bearing, the male cone is attached, right? And female cone which is attached to the flywheel, right? The shaft to which female cone is attached is the engine shaft. The male cone is attached to the clutch shaft, right? So this is the construction of the cone clutch. So if you observe the first point related to the function of the clutch, clutch is used to disengage and engage the engine with the rest of the transmission system. So clutch can engage or disengage the engine with the transmission system, right? So that means clutch is located in between engine and gearbox, right? In between engine and gearbox, clutch is located. The function of the clutch is to engage, disengage the engine from the remaining transmission system. Coming to the next point, to disengage while starting the engine and while changing the gear ratio. So when we will disengage the engine means during the starting of the engine we will press the clutch pedal. and during the changing the gear ratio, that time we will press the clutch pedal, right? So this condition is related to the disengage. Disengage means engine power will not be transmitted from engine to the gearbox. Coming to the engage. Next point is related to the engage condition of clutch. To engage after starting of the engine and gear shift operation. Right. After selecting the gear, after starting the engine, right, clutch always should be in engage position with the flywheel, right? So if we always engaged with the flywheel, then power is transmitted from engine to the gearbox, right? So next one is gearbox, right? So coming to the first point related to the gearbox is gearbox varies the leverage in brackets speed ratio and torque ratio between the engine and driving wheels, right? So between the engine and driving wheels, if leverage should be varied, that leverage can be varied with help of the gearbox. Is it right? So speed and torque are inversely proportional. If the gear ratio is set to increase the speed, then torque will reduce. If gear ratio is set to increase the torque, then speed will reduce. Right. Coming to the second point, where the gearbox is located. It is located between the clutch and propeller shaft. In between the clutch and propeller shaft, gearbox is located. Next. Next point is it provides with either 4-speed or 5-speed ratios, more depending on the design. So with help of the gearbox, we can get 4 or 5 speeds depending upon the design, right? So the next point is gear ratio is varied by gear shift lever. By changing the gear shift lever position, either first to third or first to second or third to second or second to third or third to fourth or fourth to reverse. So it will be the gear ratio can be changed with help of the gear shift lever. Is it right? Now observe the diagram of the gearbox. This is the gearbox, okay, which is a constant mesh gearbox, right? It is an advanced version of the sliding mesh gearbox, right? So this is the gear shift lever. By changing this lever position, particular gear ratio can be set, right? So in exams, the diagram you need to draw will be in the shape of like this, right? So this is the selector lever, this is the gear selector fork which varies the dog clutch. The dog clutch will select the particular gear. Then from the engine, power is transmitted to the clutch gear, from clutch gear to the counter gear to the lay shaft, that means nothing but counter shaft. From counter shaft to the particular gear present on the main shaft. Okay. So like this, from driving shaft to the driven shaft, the power is transmitted according to the gear ratio. Coming to the next one, that is universal joint. Universal joints are capable to transmit the torque and rotational motion from one shaft to another when their axes are inclined. When their axes are inclined to each other by some angle, which may be constantly varying under working condition. So how a universal joint is helpful means to transfer the torque, to transmit the torque or rotational motion from driving shaft to the driven shaft when their axes are inclined with each other with some angle. That angle may be varying or constant. Okay, so even though the angle is constant or varying continuously, the power is transmitted from driving shaft to the driven shaft with help of the universal joint, right? So we can call it as a knuckle joint, right? Middle part is known as the spider or cross piece. We can call the middle portion of the universal joint as spider or cross piece, right? It consists of two yokes, right? Two yokes which are mounted to the spider or cross piece, right? One yoke is connected to the driving member, another yoke is connected to the driven member, right? So by this, power is transmitted from driving to the driven member. Coming to the next one, that is propeller shaft. It propels the vehicle in forward, so called propeller shaft. So propeller shaft which is connected in between the gearbox and differential, right? Gearbox and differential, which transmit the torque from the gearbox to differential, and also it joins two different planes, right? The first plane is engine, clutch, gearbox. Second plane is differential and rear axle assembly. These two planes having some gap. This gap will be fulfilled with help of a propeller shaft, right? With supporting two universal joints, right? So with this propeller shaft, the power which is coming from the gearbox will be transmitted to the differential. Coming to the second point related to the propeller shaft, a propeller shaft connected to gearbox to a differential. So it is located in between gearbox and differential. Coming to the next point, it is used to transmit the drive force generated by the engine to the axles. So propeller shaft is responsible to transfer the power from gearbox to the rear wheel axle, right? Rear wheel axle. Coming to the next point, it is strong enough to handle the maximum low gear torque. So it should be strong enough to handle the maximum low gear torque, right? It should withstand torsional stresses. It should withstand bending stresses, right? So this is the diagram related to the propeller shaft. If you observe the middle portion, this is the propeller shaft which is made up of hollow steel tube, and in the front portion it consists of a slip joint. Sorry, it is the rear portion. For the rear portion, slip joint is connected, right? And this part is known as the universal joint. This universal joint is connected between the propeller shaft and the differential or gearbox. This universal joint is connected in between propeller shaft and the differential, right? So this is the diagram related to the propeller shaft. Coming to the next point related to the propeller shaft, it provides with two universal joints to maintain constant velocity and positioning to differential at different planes. So by connecting two universal joint, it is able to transmit the torque without any loss, right? Without any loss, or within an angle, or by varying an angle, propeller shaft can transfer the power or torque from gearbox to differential in an inclined manner also. Coming to the next point, it provided with a slip joint to take care of the change in length. So if the vehicle undergone a speed breaker at the rear side, then what happened? The rear wheels will move up and comes to its original position. So if this condition happened, means propeller shaft need to adjust its length. How it will adjust its length means with help of the slip joint, right? With help of the slip joint, propeller shaft length can be varied while vehicle moving under ditches or speed breaker, moving on a speed breaker, right? So coming to the next point, the shaft diameter and its thickness decides the torque carrying capacity and angle of operation. So according to the shaft diameter and thickness, decides how much torque it is capable to transmit and how much angle it is able to transmit the power, within how much angle the propeller shaft can able to transmit the power without loss can be decided. Coming to the next part, that is the differential, right? So if you observe the differential, the diagram will be like this. It consists of a bevel pinion, crown wheel, right? Two sun gears, two planet gears. Sun gears are connected to the axle. Planet gears are connected to the cage, to the crown wheel, right? So right angular power transmission is possible with help of the differential. Is it right? Final speed reduction can be obtained with help of the bevel pinion and crown wheel. Is it right? So it sets the different speeds while it taking a turn, right? So if you observe, this is the diagram which you need to draw in the examination, right? So if you observe, this is the bevel gear connected to the propeller shaft, and this is the crown gear, right? Crown gear which is meshed with the bevel gear, right? So it consists of crown wheel consists of a cage. Further, two planetary gears are attached, right? And for the shafts, rear axle shafts, for the two shafts, two sun gears will be there, which are mounted and constantly meshed with the planetary gears. Is it right? Coming to the first point related to the differential, to transmit the engine power to the wheels. So transfer the power from engine to the wheels with help of a differential. Coming to the second point, to act as a final gear reduction in the vehicle. If the speed reduction, gear reduction should be happen, finally happens in the differential. Coming to the third point, to make the wheels rotate at different speeds while negotiating turn. While taking a turn, either left or right, inner wheels rotate at lesser speed, outer wheels rotate at high speed or more speed. Right? How it is possible? With help of the differential. Right? So coming to the next part, it is the axle. Right? So if you come to the axle, there are two types of axles will be there. One is live axle, another one is dead axle. The axle which is supporting the steering is known as the dead axle. Axle which is getting the power, axle which is getting the power is known as the live axle. So if it was a front engine, rear wheel drive, if it was a front engine rear wheel drive, live axle is the rear axle and dead axle is the front axle. If it was a front engine front wheel drive, if it was a front engine front wheel drive, dead axle is the rear axle, live axle is the front axle. Is it right? So if you come to the definition of the axle, a pair of short drive shafts is commonly used to send the power from a final drive differential. Final drive is nothing but the differential unit to the wheels, right? So whatever the power coming to the differential, it is equally distributed and supplied to the wheels through the shaft known as the axle, right?